So, during my year in Japan, I bought an obscene amount of video games, and now I'm going to tell you about all of them. This is gonna take a while, because I bought a fuck ton of games, but split up into categories, and I'm not going to bother looking up screenshots or video footage to put alongside, because it's gonna be way too much work, so you're gonna have to make do with a picture of the game itself and the title. If it looks interesting to you, then please Google or YouTube it to see for yourself what the game is about. I will just tell you very briefly, because I need to keep it as brief as possible. Let's start with Famicom and the Famicom Disk System. Argos no Senshi, aka Rygar, a game that I bought 4 years ago in Japan, but then sold it because I thought it didn't have any continues. It actually does, it just doesn't show you that it continues, but it does. You get booted to the title screen, and then you press start, and then you continue where you left off. I didn't know that, now I know, so now I'm going to try to enjoy the game, even though they changed the music on the first stage, which is not as good as in the European American version, but yeah. Banana no Oji Daiboken, aka Banana Prince. What held me back from buying this before was that it has quizzes. Quizzes are like a little hard because you have to know Japanese pretty much, but I know it much better now. Reading Hiragana is not a problem. So yeah, I got the game. Daiku no Gensan 2. I pretty much am looking to get all the Gensan games, so I got this one, even though it's a bit expensive. Doki Doki Yuenchi, aka Trolls in Crazyland. A somewhat mediocre game, I would say. At least it's better this way than with Trolls, because that's just weird. DuckTales 2. Like the original, I would say this one is just decent. I think DuckTales in general is overrated, but it's still nice to have. Densetsu no Kishi Elrond, aka Wizards and Warriors. No relation to Elrond from Lord of the Rings, as far as I'm aware. This is, yeah, Wizards and Warriors. Yeah, that's about it. Getsu Fumaden, a Konami game. Pretty good game again, and it took me a while to find it for a price lower than what it usually goes for, but I found it eventually. The big one, Gimmick, the game that I bought for 19,000 yen, which was 20,500 with tax. Found it in Mandarake in Sapporo, and later on I got to meet the designer of the game, Tomomi Sakai, in Nagoya, so that made it all the more awesome. Gordic Gaiden, aka Guardian Legend, a game that I was agonizing over quite a long time, because I like half the game. Half the game is like an overhead Zelda-ish type thing, and the other half is a 2D shooter, and I suck at 2D shooters, so I don't like 2D shooters. But I got it in the end. Heavy Barrel, a fun overhead action game, kind of like the overhead stages of Super C. Yeah, a good game. Ikari 3, aka Ikari Warriors 3. Unlike the other two games, you don't shoot, you punch and kick. So it's more of a beat 'em up than a run and gun. Interestingly enough, Ninja Jayamaru Ginga Daisaksen. This one is pretty good, and I had it once before, but I sold it because I thought it was not very good at all. But not good enough to keep around or whatever. I kind of changed my mind and tracked it down. King Kong 2 by Konami, a overhead action game with pretty good music actually, and it's based on the movie King Kong Lives, which is a sequel to the remake from the 70s, which is why it's called King Kong 2. There is no King Kong 1. Mad City, aka The Adventures of Bayou Billy. But this is the good version, which has more stages, and the difficulty is not as fucked up, and Adventures of Bayou Billy, the good version, aka Mad City. Magic John, kind of a weird name. In the West it has more of an embarrassing name, Totally Rad. And the game is not really that rad. It's not great, I wouldn't say, but it's a platformer action, I could maybe get into it. Ningen Heiki Dead Fox, aka Codename Viper. Pretty much Capcom's answer to Rolling Thunder. Paman, a Japanese exclusive based on some kind of mascot character or something. Again, I had this one before but sold it, but I got it back again really cheap. It's why I sold it, because it doesn't have any boss fights. Instead it has these weird board game things which are purely luck based, However, the stages are actually pretty good. And it has passwords, so I can just, once I get to the boss battle, I can just reset the game and put a password for the next stage and just enjoy the rest of the game. Pinball Quest, also by Jellico. This one I just had to try because it's a pinball game with the story mode. But yeah, I mean a pinball game with story and, with like a progression thing instead of you're just a board. That's just, that was intriguing. Quarth by Konami, a shooting puzzle game. You shoot blocks into other blocks to remove blocks. Rambo, famously reviewed by the Angry Video Game Nerd, but actually it's not that bad. It's just, Zelda 2 with Rambo, pretty much. Yeah, it's not bad. Solomon no Kagi, aka Solomon's Key. This is a fun puzzle game, and it's for strangely expensive in Japan, but I lucked out and found it for a pretty good price. Solomon no Kagi 2, the same kind of thing happened because I got it for half price. It's usually like 4,000 yen, and I got it for 2,000. Puzzle game, just like the first one, but yeah, I would say it's more difficult, actually. But I can't figure it out past like level 4 or something, but it's a good game. Spelunker 2, Yusha no Shosen. This one is quite interesting. Spelunker 1 is not that good of a game, but Spelunker 2 is like you can choose between 3 characters, you run around, it's side-scrolling, it's open-ended, it's a little Metroid-y. It's quite interesting, actually. Star Wars, the Namco version, the silver cartridge. This one I was like not sure if I was going to keep or not, but because it's really not that good of a game and it has one-hit kills, but it's just too damn charming to get rid of. Super Chinese 3. It's Kung Fu Heroes when you go into battles, but then otherwise it's kind of an RPG feeling with towns and an overworld and everything. It's quite slow-paced and slow. The fighting is pretty slow and everything, but it's still kind of enjoyable, and it has 2-player mode. Takahashi Meijin no Bokenjima 3. Of the first 3, which are all kind of the same, I figured I would get the newest one. Takahashi Meijin no Bokenjima 4, aka Adventure Island 4, although it never had that name because it never came out in the West. This one is an almost great game, and it was the last game ever released for the Famicom officially in 1994 by Hudson Soft, of course. And this game has more of a Metroid-y thing with open-endedness and items to unlock new paths and blah blah blah. It's quite the good game, actually. Western Kids, aka Cowboy Kid, I think. This one's pretty much Ganbare Goemon in the Western setting. Ys 3, Wanderers from Ys. It's a side-scrolling action RPG. Kaiketsu Yanshamaru 3. It's kind of rare, so it's up there in price. Found it on Yahoo Auctions in the end. But yeah, it's a good game by Ira. Yume Penguin Monogatari. I just love the premise of being a fat penguin is trying to lose weight to get his girlfriend back because his bitch of a girlfriend has left him until he can slim down. Almana no Kiseki, a game that I bought while I was in Japan, but I didn't buy it in Japan because I bought it from Swedish eBay and had it delivered to my friend's house where I picked it up later. It's anyway the Indiana Jones, the game by Konami. Final Commando Akai Yosai, pretty much the Japanese version of Jackal. I got it as a present, but at least I was in Japan while I got it, so. Green Beret, aka Russian Attack. Yeah, again, a decent game. Gunsmoke, one of my favorites on the disk system, and one of my favorite shoot 'em up games ever made. Ice Hockey, a game I had before, but I sold it because the music is not what it's supposed to be. It's not the one I recognize, but it is ice hockey, and I need to have ice hockey in my life. Kid Icarus, a game that I just felt like this is an obligatory one. You kind of have to have Kid Icarus. And finally, Santa Claus no Takarabako. It's not really a game even. You make animated Christmas cards. I don't know, it's just weird, but when I saw it, I had to have it. Now let's move on to Game Boy/Game Boy Color. Daiku no Gensan Ghost Building Company. This is just Hammer and Harry on the Game Boy, pretty much. All of these games are kind of the same, sort of, but they're all pretty fun, so yeah, I decided to just get them all, pretty much. Daiku no Gensan Robot Teikoku. Another Daiku no Gensan game. Kid Dracula. I have this on Famicom, but the Game Boy version is slightly different with some other stages. So yeah, I mean, more Kid Dracula is a good thing. Castlevania 2: Belmont's Revenge. I decided to skip on the first Castlevania game, but Castlevania 2, however, is quite good. Batman by Sunsoft for the Game Boy. It has fucking amazing music. It looks like it was developed alongside Super Mario Land or something, because it has the same kind of tiny graphics. Batman just shoots with a gun the whole time, but it's a platformer and it has amazing music. Yeah, I gotta have this one. Biohazard Gaiden. This one is hated by most people and Resident Evil fans, but I think it looks quite interesting. I mean, yeah, survival horror on the Game Boy Color. Yeah, it looks good. It looks pretty good to me. Cyborg Kuro-chan. Kind of a weird one. This one is more like a run and gun, although you automatically run and then you just aim and jump to avoid stuff. But it was really, really cheap, and yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, why not? Cyborg Kuro-chan 2. The same thing goes for this one. It's pretty much the same as the first game. I don't really see any difference. But again, really cheap and yeah, decent enough. Donkey Kong. I'm not a huge fan of Donkey Kong, but this is kind of the best version to have because it has the arcade levels and has a whole bunch of extra levels. Ghostbusters 2. This one is pretty much a Game Boy port of new Ghostbusters for NES/Famicom, although it's too expensive on that, so I got it on the Game Boy instead. It's pretty much the same game anyway. Hunter x Hunter. This one, I looked it up and I thought it was going to be an RPG because there is also another Hunter x Hunter game on Game Boy Color which is an RPG. However, this one is a side-scrolling action platformer. This one is much more reminiscent of Castlevania, and of course it is by Konami. So yeah, this actually looks really good, and it wasn't expensive at all. Kaeru no tame kane wa naru. For the Frog the Bell Tolls. This was made by Nintendo the year before Link's Awakening came out. I've heard about this game before on Game Center CX and some article or something, but yeah, I never tried it, but yeah, of course I had to get it. Pokemon Pinball, a game that I bought twice. First with box and then cartridge only. Yeah, it's a pinball game, and I'm a fan of those cartridges that are weird. This one has a rumble feature. Puzzle Boy, aka Quirk. A childhood game of mine. Red a Reamer, aka Gargoyle's Quest. Rockman Extreme 2. This game I had before, but sold it because I was lacking a Game Boy Color. Now I have a Game Boy Advance, so now I can play it. Wario Land 2. It's not as good as Wario Land on the Game Boy and Wario Land on the Virtual Boy, because this is where they decided to make Wario invincible and have the game not be about getting to the end of stages while finding secrets. This is just about looking in every nook and cranny for treasure and getting as much money as possible, which is I prefer the other system, but it's still a good enough game to own. Wario Land 3, another Wario Land game, pretty much. I think it's pretty much more the same, except this one is GameCube, Game Boy Color only. Zelda Oracle of Ages. This game I've played before, but I just, it doesn't hurt to have. Zelda Oracle of Seasons. It's kind of the same as Ages. I prefer Seasons over Ages as well. I like jumping on those wooden logs and changing the seasons all the time. It's actually kind of fun, even though it gets a little repetitive, but yeah. Samurai Kid. Made by Koei, and it's the only Koei game I own, I think, because Koei almost only made strategy games like Nobunaga's Ambition. But this is a platformer, and it's it's pretty good, and no one seems to be aware of it. Tiny Toon Adventures 2. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Finally, on Game Boy/Color, it's Koro Koro Kabi, aka Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which has a motion sensor, and again, I think I had it before, but sold it because I didn't have a Game Boy Color, and the problem is I can't really play this until I get another one, because playing it in the Game Boy Advance SP, the cartridge becomes up and down, so the motion sensing becomes inverted, which makes it really hard to play. But when I get it, I'm gonna have some fun. Next up, Game Boy Advance. Astro Boy, the Omega Factor. Made by Treasure, this one was recommended not directly to me, but it was recommended in a Metal Jesus Rocks episode. It's a platformer, of course, because that's what I like. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. One of those Kirby games that I've never tried, and I was just like, I don't really know what it is. What it was, I mean. It turns out it's just another Kirby game pretty much, although this one had like link cable 4-player support, which obviously I'm not going to be using. But you know, another Kirby game, you can't go wrong. Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. This is a remake of Kirby's Adventure, and you know, again, Kirby, you cannot go wrong. Klonoa. I have some history with this series. I had played the Wii version first. Wasn't really impressed. A little generic and bland for my taste. Played the PlayStation version, but sold it. But I kept the Game Boy Advance version. Koro Koro Puzzle Happy Panichu. It's a motion-controlled puzzle game. I haven't figured out how to motion control it yet, but when I do, I bet I'll have some fun. Kuru Kuru Kururin. Great name, right? You play as a stick that's always spinning, and like this then, and you're trying to guide it through passageways and stuff. And it's fun. It's fun in short bursts. Mario Party Advance. I had heard that this one is not good, but it's just, you know, it's Mario Party in 16-bit, and it's like, yeah, it can't be bad, can it? Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I like puzzle platformers, and this one actually turned out to be pretty good. Super Mario Advance. The Super Mario Advance series are just kind of clear-cut remakes, most of them, except this one is actually quite a bit different. The annoying change that they made, they added fucking voices. It's really fucking annoying. It makes you want to turn off the volume, but it's still, you know, it's Mario. It's still a great game. Mario and Luigi RPG, aka Superstar Saga. Zelda Minish Cap. Quite possibly the best 2D Zelda game, which is heresy to say because, you know, Link to the Past, but goddamn Minish Cap is fucking good. Pinobi Daiboken, a game I heard about in a Metal Jesus Rocks video. It's a platformer starring a bee, and a bee that can fly and stuff. You know, it's not totally remarkable game, but it's decent. Pinobi and Finobi, the sequel that I didn't know existed to Pinobi no Daiboken. And yeah, it's another one. Rockman Battleship GP. It's for the collection, because this one I really kind of didn't want to buy it because I'm not a big fan of this one, except for the music is quite good. It's very rock and roll metal-y. It's not great, gameplay is not that good, but it's for the collection. Screwbreaker. Don't screwbreaker with me, young man. This one is Drill Dozer, the Japanese version. It has a rumble pack, and you drill through walls and stuff. Platformer, hidden gem, or not hidden really, but it's a gem. Here's a weird one, Silent Hill play novel. This is a sound novel, like this genre that Chunsoft invented. However, Konami decided to call this play novel, maybe because Chunsoft maybe trademarked it, I don't know. But it's pretty much just Silent Hill in text form. Densetsu no Starfy. The nice game with the starfish. Starfy is quite a nice, relaxing, fun time. Densetsu no Starfy 2. Densetsu no Starfy 3. Super Mario Ball, a pinball game with Mario as the ball. That's pretty much all you need to know. Tekken Advance. You wouldn't think that Tekken would work on a Game Boy Advance, but it actually does, even though you don't have enough buttons, really. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's modeled after Tekken 3, and yeah, it's good. Finally, on the Game Boy Advance, we have Yoshi's Universal Gravitation, Yoshi Topsy-Turvy, or the Japanese title, which I don't remember right now. But it's a game with motion control, and I think it's like twisting, kind of like WarioWare Twisted, but without the rumble pack. I like those weird games with motion stuff, and it's just, yeah, give it to me. Next, a quick section, it's GameCube. Rockman EXE Transmission. It was quite cheap, and it's I can't play it right now because even though I have a Wii with GameCube functionality, I don't have a freeloader, so I can't play this game. But it's Battle Network as a side-scroller. Next, let's move to the other really short section, Nintendo 64. Rockman Dash, aka Mega Man 64. I actually will get to this game in another section. I just came across this game. I don't really need it. I'm really not gonna play it, but this is purely for the collection. But it was It was so cheap anyways, I just couldn't resist. Now let's move on to the Nintendo DS. Arkanoid, a fun game wherever you can play it pretty much, but the controls is what does it. Playing Arkanoid with a D-pad is not that good. Playing it with a mouse is better, but playing it with a knob type controller is the best. This one is for DS and it has a special controller. It has like ball bearings in it or something, because it feels just like the arcade, and it's fucking great. A little expensive, but I had to have that one. Blue Dragon Plus. Game that was really, really cheap, and that's pretty much why I bought it. Guitar Hero on Tour. I was getting a little nostalgic for Guitar Hero, so I got it. However, the song list in this version is not good at all, so I also bought from Sweden online Guitar Hero on Tour Decades, which has the songs from the 70s and 80s, which are quite a bit better. Super Mario 64 DS. Kind of an obligatory one. I don't mind playing with the D-pad. Mario Kart DS, you cannot go wrong with Mario Kart, except maybe for the GBA version. Mario Kart DS is one of the best, had to have that one. Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword. This one I found in Kyoto in Atsutaya. It's one of the Ninja Gaiden game where you have to hold the DS like a book. And yeah, I don't know much about it other than that right now, but yeah. New Super Mario Brothers. Again, I had to have that one. It's just a good one. Okami Den, the only sequel to Okami. Rockman EXE Operate Shooting Star. So it's pretty much a crossover between Battle Network and Mega Man Star Force, which is nice because I like Battle Network. I'm not a huge fan of Star Force, but I only played the first game before, so yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't played this one yet, but it could be interesting. Rockman Star Force. The Rockman RPG, that's the sequel series to Battle Network. It's not as good as Battle Network, but it's decent. Rockman Star Force 2, I forget which version I have of both of these, but yeah, it's another one. There is a third one too, but I don't have it yet. Rockman Zero Collection. I actually sold Rockman 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Game Boy Advance because I got this instead. This has all of them, and you can use buttons like you're supposed to, more like a Super Nintendo controller on the DS. So I figured I'm just gonna have the Zero series on the DS instead. Star Fox Command. It was really, really cheap. That's mainly why I got it, although Star Fox is always fun for a little while. Densetsu no Starfy 4. Another Starfy game, which is a really charming game. We play as a starfish. Yeah, it's another Starfy game, pretty much. Densetsu no Starfy Taiketsu Dire Kaisokudan something or other. I forgot the complete name, I think. I have no idea why they didn't just call this Densetsu no Starfy 5, because it's pretty much that's what it is. And yeah, again, it's another Starfy game. Tetris DS, one of my favorite Tetris versions. It has remixed Nintendo music and it's just awesome. Zelda Spirit Tracks. It's one of the few Zelda games I've never beaten, and I just lose interest in this one quite fast. I've tried it before, but you fucking drive trains, but I want to do it because it's Zelda after all. Let's move on to the Sega Mega Drive. Rockman Mega World. This was the main Mega Drive game that I wanted, of course, because it's Mega Man, and it's, Mega Man's version of Mario All-Stars. It has Mega Man 1, 2, 3 remade. I bought this game twice, unfortunately, because the first time I bought a fake, turned out to be, it didn't have a battery inside, and once you started it up, it had some kind of, like ROM by Hacksaw 95 or something, so, wah. Castle of Illusion, the Mickey Mouse game that everyone talks about. And yeah, now I have it. Magical Tarurutukun. The Mega Drive game is actually the only good one in the series, I would say, because it's made by Game Freak and you have a life bar finally, and it's inventive. It's the only good Tarurutukun game, and I have it finally. Monster World 4. It has amazing graphics for the Mega Drive with so many colors that I didn't expect the Mega Drive to be able to. It looks really cute, right up my alley. Zero Wing, aka All Your Base Are Belong to Us. I just, had to have this one. And I actually prefer to have the Japanese version over the European version because I want to look at the Japanese and see what it's really supposed to say. Finally, for the Mega Drive, I got a 112-in-1 cartridge. I just decided to not collect Mega Drive games because it's going to cost way too much, because Mega Drive games are quite expensive in Japan and they're expensive everywhere. I just got this multi-card instead, and it has most of the games that I want right there. Next up, the PlayStation. Capcom Collection 2, Makaimura. It's a collection of the 3 Ghosts and Goblins / Ghouls and Ghosts games. I will beat the first game one day. Kokobo Racing, a fun Kokobo Mario Kart clone. It's actually good. I've played it before. Clock Tower, The First Fear. This game is a port of the Super Famicom game, although this one has mouse support, which makes quite a bit of difference. Clock Tower 2. This one is the one that's called Clock Tower in the West. This one has mouse support again. I got the mouse, so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to Jennifer Simpson, aka Jennifer Connelly, because it's very obviously Jennifer Connelly, even more obvious than Ellen Page for The Last of Us. Airgaze. The only reason that I got this really is the only reason that I downloaded it before, because you can play as Cloud and Sephiroth and Tifa and Vincent if you unlock him. I mean, it's too odd. You gotta love it. The Fireman 2 by Human Entertainment. I have the Fireman for the Super Famicom. This is another one, but it has voice acting, and hopefully it's as good as the original. Gunner's Heaven. Gunner's Heaven is a run and gun, not so much Contra, it's much more Gunstar Heroes. I found it for a great price. It usually goes for like 4,000 yen, and I found it for like 1,000 something. It will say over there. Jumping Flash 2. However, this release, for some reason, also includes Jumping Flash 1, so I have both of them. And Jumping Flash is a game, it's a little bit similar to Bound High on the Virtual Boy. You jump as a, first person, you jump, and then you look as you land on the enemies. It's looks a little primitive now, but it's pretty fun. Robit Mon Dieu. A weird title instead of Jumping Flash 3, but that's pretty much what it is. It's another Jumping Flash game. Pocket Moo Moo. Another really weird title when it's pretty much Jumping Flash, the Pocket Station edition. I guess it's like Jumping Flash, but it's very focused on the Pocket Station. You pretty much play a little bit just to get to download minigames onto your Pocket Station. Machi, the third evolution to the sound novel formula. You have like 8 protagonists you can play as, and they all have different stories, and they're supposed to like intersect at the end or something. Parasite Eve. I actually threw away the case for this one on purpose because it was quite cheap anyway. It had one of those stickers that I couldn't remove, and I needed desperately to get my bags under the weight limit for my flight. Persona by Atlus, the original to the legendary spin-off series, which is spun off from Shin Megami Tensei, which is spun off from Megami Tensei. I'm not entirely sure what makes it so amazing, but I shall see. Rockman 8. I have a little bit of an aversion to this game just because of one level where a certain word and another certain word is repeated, and it's but at least with the Japanese version the voice acting is not as horrible. Rockman Battle and Chase, the Mega Man version of Mario Kart, pretty much. Rockman Dash, aka Mega Man Legends, for the collection, and I'm actually looking forward to playing this again because it was quite a long time since I played Mega Man Legends. I played the PC version back in like 2002 or something. Rockman Dash 2, aka Mega Man Legends 2. Tron Nikobun, aka Misadventures of Tron Bonn. It takes place before Mega Man Legends 1 and 2, to see what the Bonn family is up to. Quite fun. I remember playing this game in high school, and yeah, it's a good time. Rockman X3 is not just a straight port of Super Famicom game, which was why I was like, should I buy this? But it's actually a little bit more. It has remix music, although it's not as good as the Super Famicom one. Animated video intros of all the bosses, and it's different enough to get. Rockman X4, one of the best X games. I would say it's my second favorite after X1. Rockman X5, a game that I thought was much better before. When I now play it again, it's not as good as I remember it, but it's still good. Rockman X6, a frustrating experience, but it's also good because it's Rockman X, and The music is fucking great. Super Adventure Rockman, the Mega Man game that Keiji Inafune apologized for in the art book. It's like an anime where you choose what to do next and stuff. Fully voice acted, fully videoed, and the only, except for the choices, the only gameplay part is move the cursor shooting. Snatcher, the classic by Kojima. It looks quite interesting. I always thought Snatcher looks very interesting. So I said that word a lot, don't I? But anyway, it fits with this one. Police Knots, the other Kojima game, also on, I think it's also on PC Engine. It looks quite good. It's like a point-and-click adventure game, and voice acting, Japanese and everything. It looks very cool in general. Suikoden, or Genso Suikoden, I think. This one is not expensive, but it was still hard to find because I was looking for the original release, not the best play choice or whatever the hell they're called. It's one of those RPGs that a lot of people talk about. Castlevania Dracula X, aka Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Another one of those classic gotta have games. Xenogears, another RPG that I might play eventually. This one actually, I've thought about playing this for many years now. It's a RPG with mechs and it looks quite good. And I want to play it eventually. Tokimeki Memorial, the dating sim. Yeah, I actually kind of like it, and I got it signed by Koji Igarashi, Castlevania director for a long time. He worked on this game before Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Next up, PlayStation 2. Bully. Game that I really shouldn't have bought, I guess, but it's just Bully with Japanese subtitles, but I just felt an urge to get this one with Japanese. However, I did find it for quite a bit cheaper than it was going for. It usually goes for 1,500 to 2,000, and I found it in a bargain bin in Okinawa for 400 yen. Quite the bargain. Final Fantasy X. I felt, yeah, sure, I'm going to play that in Japanese. And it also has a bonus disc, which is also part of the reason that I got it. I don't think it's quite the same bonus disc as the one that came with Final Fantasy X back in the day. But yeah. Mercenaries. I quite liked this game when it was new. Then I played Mercenaries 2, which was not as good. It was kind of a disappointing follow-up. So I'm looking forward to finally, after all these years, go back to the original. Phantasy Star Generation 1. This is a remake of Phantasy Star. A game that I've been looking to get into for a while. This remake has just plain Japanese, like real Japanese, whereas the Mega Drive version, which is just like a physical port thing, it's like the Master System cartridge just converted inside the Mega Drive cartridge or something. So unfortunately, that one, all the text is in katakana. Playing an RPG all in katakana is not something I'm prepared to do. So the remake is the answer. Tekken Tag Tournament. My favorite Tekken game. I had to have this one. Tekken 4. Same as Tekken Tag Tournament. The case is gone, but it's a great Tekken game. Time Crisis 2. Right now I can't play this one because I don't have a CRT, but I will in the future, and then I will be looking to play this one with 2 gun cons because that is fucking awesome. Rockman Battle and Fighters is the 2 Mega Man arcade games. Rockman X Command Mission, the Mega Man X RPG. Rockman X7. I don't hate this one like most people do. And it's Mega Man, it's for the collection. Rockman X8. This one I don't like. I'm a little flipped there because I like X7 more than other people do, but I don't like X8 as much as other people do. When I played this game when it was kind of new, like 2003 or something, I kind of hated it. And I'm willing to give it another shot now. And I found it in Fukuoka, I think it was, for like 1,000 yen cheaper than what it usually went for. Yakuza, not the game that I was planning to buy exactly because I already have it. I have the Western release and I have the HD collection, but I don't remember exactly why I bought it, but it was actually a good thing I did because I got it signed by Masayoshi Yokoyama, the number 2 guy of the series. And yeah, it's not going anywhere. Next, PSP. Rockman Irregular Hunter X, aka Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, remake of Mega Man X. Rockman, aka Mega Man Powered Up. This one is a remake of Mega Man 1 with added voice and stuff and cutesiness. I don't like chibi art style really, but this game is pretty good anyway. And I had to search high and low to find this one in the original release, not the weird re-release by Capcom, which took me ages. Whenever I found it, was so frustrating. Whenever I would find it in a store, it would just have that weird yellow best choice or whatever that version was called. Eventually I found it on Yahoo Auctions after looking there for a long time too, so frustrating, but I have the original release finally. Now let's move on to the biggest category, Super Famicom. ActRaiser 2. Quite hard, quite beautiful. Actually, I thought of getting ActRaiser 1, but again, kind of like Gordic Gaiden, I only like half the game, because I don't like those building parts, they don't appeal to me. Alcahest, the overhead action RPG by HAL, although it's published by Squaresoft. Akumajo Dracula XX, aka Castlevania Dracula X, aka Castlevania Vampire's Kiss. I had to have this one, because it's Castlevania, and it's pretty damn cool. Ardy Lightfoot, a game that was presented to me as a hidden gem by SNES Drunk, even though it turned out to be kind of annoying game actually. I haven't quite decided if I like it or not yet. Beauty and the Beast by Hudson Soft, and it's actually it's kind of a frustrating game. You get hit by stuff everywhere, but I still like it. Bonkers by Capcom, just a platforming game. Not too much to say about it, based on a cartoon that nobody cares about, including me. Casper. This is not the Japanese port of the Western Casper release. This is different. It's a overhead isometric puzzle game, sort of adventure puzzle game, and it's actually pretty good. Clock Tower. Should I keep this or not? Because I have the PlayStation version, which is actually better considering you can play with the mouse. I don't know, but for now I have it. Cyborg 009, a game I have no idea why people don't know about. It's like, reminded me of Mega Man X, although it's not quite that good. You play as the cyborgs and you pick a couple of them you can switch between in every stage, and they all have different abilities, and then as you clear a level you can level them up. It's not super polished exactly, but it's good. Desaimon. This one supports the mouse. This is a game where I got it boxed because I needed the manual, because it's a game where you design and then play your own 2D shooting games. Dorabo-chan. I think it was Chomakai Tyson Dorabo-chan, maybe? It's the Twisted Tales of Spike McFang in the West. It's a overhead action game, I think. I've only seen screenshots and I haven't actually tested it, so I don't know if it's good or not, but this was one of the last games I bought in Japan before I moved back. Famicom Tantei Club 2, Ushiro ni Tatte Iru Onna, I think it is. It's a remake of the Famicom Tantei Club 2 game for Famicom Disk System. Yeah, it's intriguing. I'm gonna give it a try. Flintstones, The Treasure of Sierra Madrock. Pretty much your average platformer game. It's pretty good. Cho Genjin 2, Super Bonk 2. I've seen a lot about this game that gets really fucking weird, and I can appreciate some weird, so I figured this would be my bonk game. Getsumen no Anubis, a sound novel game. Gambare Goemon 2. Gambare Goemon is it's kind of like Kirby. It's almost a guaranteed good time. Gambare Goemon 3. Gambare Goemon Kira Kira Dochu Boku ga Dansa ni Natta Wake. I don't know why they didn't just call it Gambare Goemon 4, because that's pretty much what it is. Da-na-na-na, Goof Troop. Goof Troop, directed by Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil fame, a overhead Zelda-y thing where it's all nothing but dungeons. You could call it. You could play 2 players. It looks pretty fun. Great Battle 4, a game I had before because I was really impressed. It looked kind of like Mega Man X again. Then I got to one stage where I just couldn't proceed, and then I sold it kind of stupidly, and then. Yeah, but I got it back now. Great Battle 5, another one. Yeah, and you play as Gundam and Kamen Rider and Ultraman as cowboys. I mean, yeah, 10 out of 10 in charm points. Gunpull, Gunman's Proof. Pretty much a Western version of Zelda Link to the Past. However, it's really charming comedic style to it, and yeah, it looks like a really fun game. Harley's Humongous Adventure. He's like shrunken down, which always appeals to me when they get shrunken, kind of like when you play in that kind of environment, like Monster in My Pocket or Toy Commander or Chippendale Rescue Rangers. This game is actually kind of good. Hyper Iria, a game that's much more expensive than what I got it for. It's like 10,000 or more. However, I didn't get the original. I got it as like a Korean bootleg reproduction. And the game doesn't look super amazing. It just looks pretty good. It looks interesting. There's that word again. Tatakai Genshijin 2, aka Joe and Mac 2. Although it isn't really Joe and Mac so much. But yeah, it's a caveman platformer and it's pretty good. Joe and Mac 3, aka Joe and Mac 3 Lost in the Tropics. This is a real Joe and Mac game. Although I'm not even sure that maybe I do like the other game more. But yeah, it's another caveman platformer. Kishin Doji Zenki Dene Raibu. I like half the game. The first half that I don't really like is a weird fighting game. And then when you get past one of those sections, you get to a platformer, which is much, much better. The Lost Vikings. I didn't even know this one was released in Japan. But I like puzzle platformers. I just feel a little stupid for this one because it's quite hard. Magic Sword by Capcom. I looked around for a long time to find this for under 2,000 yen, and I did it finally. Majuo, aka King of Demons. Quite a good one, actually. It's kind of like, I don't know, Castlevania meets Splatterhouse meets some Lethal Weapon or something. Makeruna Makendo. A game that I tried in emulator way back, and then I decided I didn't like it. Although I was really drawn in by the cute and the comical, graphical style, but I didn't like the game so much. But then when I play it now, it seems fine enough. So, Super Mario All Stars. I just got this one to replace one of my dirtiest cartridges I have here in Sweden. So that was just the only reason I got it. Mario Paint. Of course, I had to have that one, I guess. It's not very expensive. I'm not, like, it doesn't feel too necessary, but why not? Mario and Wario. I actually got this one complete, in really good condition, and it comes with a mouse. Mario walks around with a bucket on his head, and you place the mouse cursor as some kind of fairy guiding him. Looks quite good. I don't know why this never made it to the West. Mazinger Z, based off the manga, anime, whatever, plays a giant robot. It's actually pretty good. Another game that no one knows about that I'm aware of. Melfan Stories, a side-scrolling action game. I wouldn't call it a platform exactly. It's called Stories, although I can't really see that it has a whole lot of story. But the cool thing is that you can choose between 4 characters, and then you can switch when you die. You can play 2 players. Yeah, it's just it's pretty good. Metal Warriors by LucasArts, a mech game, quite a good one actually. I mentioned it in one of my earlier videos about games that never came out on Super Famicom, and that's the reason then I bought a reproduction. Mickey Mouse, let's just call it that. It's pretty much Mickey Mouse, the Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse, and Mickey Mouse 2, let's call it. That's the one where Minnie is also along for the ride. Musha, the tale of Japanese horror or something. It's not called that in Japan, but yeah, this one is always listed as Musia, even though it's not. It's Musha, quite a stiff horror-y action game that reminds me a little bit of like Castlevania, a little bit. Mr. Nuts. That title, but at least it's a squirrel, so it's not the nuts that you're thinking of. Again, fairly generic, but it's hard for me to resist a platformer game. NBA Jam, a basketball game. One of the cheapest games I bought for just 100 yen. Ninja Warriors Again. It's a beat 'em up with great graphics. I found it's one of I think it's the most expensive Super Famicom game that I bought. It's usually for like 8,000, but I found it in that great store in Hiroshima. Panel de Pon, a great puzzle game by Nintendo. It's called Yoshi something or other in the West, but here you have the Moe style girls instead, which is fine by me. Panic Bomber W. It's pretty much like the Panic Bomber game on Virtual Boy, but now in color, and I like it. Pilot Wings, a game I never played when it was new. I've barely played it at all, but it's a Nintendo classic and it just belongs in the collection. P-Man. It's called Prehistoric Man in the West. I don't know why they didn't go with that in Japan or just give it some other title. It's a pretty fun caveman platformer, and it's actually made by Titus, which is, their best game, easily. Pokonyan and Pokorin Adventure. You cannot die in this game at all, so anyone will beat it. However, it's very, very cute, first of all, but then you're kind of scored as you play, so to get a good grade or good score at the end, you need to get through it without taking damage and doing it as fast as possible. So it does have challenge if you feel like it. Popeye Ijiwaru Majo, a board game, but then in some spaces it goes to a side-scrolling stage, just like any other game pretty much, but those stages are actually pretty good. The only problem is that you die once, you go back to the board, and you don't get to continue or anything. Yeah, for what it is, it's good. Rendering Ranger R2. This one is definitely not the original, because that one is the most rare game in all of Japan, but it's actually a really good game, made by a Swiss guy named Manfred Trenz. Half Contra-style action platformer and half 2D shooter, kind of like Gradius or something, but the graphics are amazing, the gameplay is actually quite good. Rock and Roll Racing. Obviously this one has good music. Pretty much the music is the best part, but still a pretty fun game. Septentrion, aka SOS. It's kind of like the Poseidon Adventure. You walk around the boat and then it tips over, and then the boat inside just rotates with the help of the Super Nintendo graphic effects while you try to find your way out and rescue passengers. Shonen Ashibe, based on a manga anime again. Quite the cute game, this one. Plays the seal, I think it's the seal, collecting 8 or 10 out of something on every stage to get to the next stage. Shubibiman Zero. This is a official reproduction made by Columbus Circle. It was actually released on Satellaview first. This is an action platformer. It looks a little bit like Mega Man. You can play 2-player at the same time, which is great. It's quite a fun time. Sound Novel Tsukuru. It's a game where you can make your own sound novel. It comes in that Super Game Boy type cartridge. In the future, I'm interested in making my own sound novel. However, that's going to take a whole lot of work, so, coming in the next 5 years or something. Space Funky Bob, or B.O.B. This one is a comical platformer. You play as a robot, you have different abilities that, a certain amount of uses. It's actually pretty fun, surprisingly so. Spanky's Quest, or Jiro no Daibokin or something or other in the Japanese version. I just call it Spanky's Quest because that's more fun. I would characterize it as a puzzle platformer, but it's a little bit slow, but it's actually pretty fun. Super Draken, aka Dragon View. The original Draken is a really, really slow-moving 3-dimensional-ish RPG, but the sequel is more of a beat-em-up. It was well recommended by SNES Drunk, so I picked it up for not that much money. Super Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, as expected, really fucking hard. However, the difficulty I don't think is that well done, because I've played very hard games like Ghosts and Goblins, and those games at least feel kind of thought out. This one just throws a bunch of enemies at you with willy-nilly, so it doesn't feel like a smart type of difficulty. But it's 16-bit Star Wars magic. It's very hard to resist its charm. Super Punch-Out. This was not released in Japan other than on the Nintendo Power Service, which makes it pretty damn rare, although it's still not expensive. Tetsuan Atom, aka Astro Boy. This one is a platformer, but it's a little bit more strategic than your average run-of-the-mill platformer. I would say it's pretty good. The Mask turned out to be a kind of your generic movie-based platformer, but it's pretty good. True Lies. It's not a platformer, actually. It's an overhead action game. It's pretty good. The weird thing is it's Japanese. Even though it's a Japanese release, it's all in English, which, I shouldn't complain, I suppose. Tsukikomori, a sound novel. Umihara Kawase. This is one of the, I would say, the golden pieces of hidden Super Nintendo gems, I guess. You can't just... It's not a pick-up-and-play game at all. You have to really play it to get good at it. But I believe there is gold at the end of the rainbow, because you play as this little girl who in artwork has really big tits, but in the game she just looks like a schoolgirl, not that kind of schoolgirl. And she has a fishing line that it attaches to things. You can attack and roll up, stun or roll up enemies with it. You can attach to things and then you swing off. It has really realistic movement and stuff. It has a definite learning curve. Wonder Project J. This one is it's like a Pinocchio simulator. You're supposed to take care of and teach this robotic kid how to act like a kid or something. Wrecking Crew 98. It's like a sequel / remake to Wrecking Crew on the Nintendo Entertainment System / Famicom. I really never played that game. I don't think it's that good, but the Super Nintendo version is actually good. It makes some welcome changes. X-Men, a fairly generic beat 'em up, I would say, but great graphics, and yeah, it's at least going to be a decent one. Yakochu, a sound novel taking place aboard a ship where people get murdered. Zakuru no Aji takes place in a building where stuff happens. I have no idea because I haven't played it yet, but apparently it takes place among game developers in the building, so that's got to be interesting. So yes, those were all the games that I bought in Japan. What a time to be alive during that year, buying these many games. I will never have such a game acquiring experience again in my life. It was amazing and I am forever grateful. Now I just have to play the games also.